The rain had been falling for hours, soaking the earth and drowning out all other sounds with its relentless rhythm. Thunder growled low in the distance as gray clouds cloaked the sky like a heavy woolen blanket. Along a winding dirt road in the countryside, surrounded by thick trees and overgrown grass, a lone figure stumbled forward, shivering, soaked, and clearly lost. Her clothes clung to her skin, mud splashed up her legs. Her hair, once neatly pinned, now fell loose around her pale face. She was breathless, confused, but determined to keep moving. She had to get as far away from everything she had left behind. Then, through the thick sheet of rain, she saw a faint light ahead. A small cabin stood alone near the edge of the forest, its warm yellow glow cutting through the darkness. With the last of her strength, she dragged herself toward it. Inside the cabin, Tommy was finishing up the dinner dishes. The fire crackled in the hearth behind him, and the smell of stew still lingered in the air. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, sat cross-legged on the floor with her wooden toys, her laughter the only sound that filled the room. A knock at the door startled them both. Tommy set the plate down and opened the door slowly, cautiously. And there she stood, a young woman, drenched, trembling, eyes wide with desperation. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely audible over the rain. I didn't know where else to go." Tommy's eyes scanned her quickly. She didn't look dangerous, just scared, vulnerable. He hesitated only a moment before stepping aside. "Come in," he said. She nodded gratefully and stumbled inside, nearly collapsing. Lily stood up from the floor, her wide eyes curious but not afraid. Tommy fetched a towel and offered it to the woman. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Emilia." That was all she offered. Tommy found her a clean blanket and laid it gently over her shoulders. The warmth of the fireplace slowly brought color back to her cheeks, but Emilia's eyes remained guarded, her posture tense. She sat on the edge of the couch, not quite comfortable, not quite safe, like a bird unsure if the branch beneath her would hold. Lily, ever the curious child, tiptoed closer. "Are you a princess?" she asked innocently, eyeing Emilia's delicate hands and soft features. Emilia smiled for the first time, small and tired, but real. "Not quite," she said softly. Tommy watched them quietly, his protective instincts tugging at him. He didn't like strangers, especially not the ones who arrived in storms without stories, but something in Emilia's eyes reminded him of an old pain he couldn't name, the same quiet ache he saw in the mirror some mornings. And Lily had already taken a liking to her. Outside, the rain worsened. The wind howled against the windows. The storm was clearly not ending soon. "You can stay the night," Tommy finally said. "There's an extra room." "I won't be any trouble," Emilia replied quickly, standing as if ready to earn her keep. "I didn't say you were." That night, as Emilia lay awake in the small guest room under a worn quilt, she listened to the creak of the old cabin, the crackle of the dying fire, and Lily's soft giggles echoing faintly from the other room. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she felt something close to safe. The storm lingered for days. In that time, Emilia learned more about Tommy and Lily. Tommy was a man of few words. He rose early, chopped firewood, cooked meals, and fixed everything with quiet precision. He never asked about Emilia's past, but he watched her with thoughtful eyes. There was a silent strength to him, not just physical, but emotional, the kind that comes from surviving more than he ever says aloud. Lily, on the other hand, was pure sunlight. Her laughter filled every shadow, her joy bloomed like wildflowers. She told Emilia stories about her imaginary friends, about the stars she counted at night, about how her mama had become one of those stars a long time ago. "My mama is in the sky," Lily said one night, pointing up through the tiny window above her bed. Amelia nodded gently. "She must be very proud of you." Tommy overheard. He paused in the hallway, one hand on the doorframe, his face unreadable. The days blurred into one another. Amelia cooked with Tommy, fed the chickens with Lily, helped wash clothes by the river. Her heels were gone, replaced with boots. Her nails chipped, her hair tied back in a simple braid. But her eyes? They softened. Something inside her had started to breathe again. One afternoon, as Lily was playing dress-up using scarves and old aprons, she twirled in front of the fireplace, giggling, before tugging at Amelia's bag, hoping to find something sparkly. She gasped. "What's this?" In her tiny hands, she held a golden necklace, elegant, clearly expensive, with a name engraved in delicate script, Amelia Fairchild. Tommy looked up from where he was whittling wood by the hearth. His eyes narrowed slightly, and Amelia froze. She gently took the necklace from Lily, tucking it back into her bag. Her voice was calm, but there was a flicker of panic beneath it. "Just something old," she said, but Tommy had noticed. He didn't press her. Not yet. The truth began to emerge like mist lifting from the hills. Amelia didn't mean to let it slip, but it was becoming harder to carry. One morning, as they gathered eggs in the chicken coop, she finally spoke. "I didn't just get lost," she said quietly, not looking at him. "I left. I ran." Tommy didn't interrupt. "My father is powerful, controlling. He planned my whole life, who I'd marry, how I'd behave, what kind of daughter I had to be. I was just a symbol to him, not a person." Her voice cracked, but she pushed through it. "I couldn't breathe in that world. So I left everything. The mansion, the money, the name. I just wanted to feel real again." Tommy looked at her then, really looked, and in her eyes he saw no lies, just pain and longing. "I get it," he said simply. That night, as the rain finally eased and the clouds began to part, Amelia stood outside the cabin, looking up at the stars. Tommy joined her, their silence comfortable now. "You've built a beautiful life here," she said. He shrugged. "It's not much. It's everything." For the first time, he reached for her hand. The days turned golden. The rain faded into memory, replaced by crisp sunlight and the smell of pine and wood smoke. Amelia no longer felt like a guest. She had woven herself into the rhythm of the cabin. She laughed freely now, teased Tommy when he burned the potatoes, braided Lily's hair by the river, and even began planting flowers outside the porch. One morning, as Tommy fixed the old fence, Amelia came out holding 2 mugs of coffee. He took one, nodding his thanks. After a long silence, he said, "I've never seen Lily smile this much. She's easy to love." He looked at her then, something deeper flickering behind his eyes. "So are you." Amelia froze for just a second, the weight of his words sinking in. She wasn't used to being seen. Not like this. Not for who she was, rather than what she represented. And Tommy, so grounded, so steady, had become her anchor in a world she'd abandoned. But peace, she knew, never stayed untouched for long. It happened on a quiet afternoon. Amelia was hanging laundry outside with Lily when a sleek black car crunched up the gravel road, so out of place against the rural backdrop that even the birds seemed to go silent. A man stepped out, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed in a tailored coat. His face lit up with relief as he spotted Amelia. "Miss Amelia!" he exclaimed. She went pale. "Mr. Hawthorne?" she whispered. Lily looked up at her. "Who's that?" The man hurried forward. "Your father has been worried sick. We've been looking everywhere." Tommy had stepped out by now, silent and watchful. "I told them not to look for me," Amelia said, her voice flat. "I know, child, but we couldn't leave you to vanish. Come now, we've brought your things. Let's go home." Tommy's jaw tightened. Amelia stood still, torn. The old world had arrived to reclaim her. That night, the cabin was unbearably quiet. Amelia packed slowly, her hands shaking. Tommy stood in the doorway of her room, his voice rough. "So it's true, you're going back." She nodded, tears brimming. "I didn't ask them to come, but maybe it's time. I can't stay hidden forever." Lily hugged her tightly. "Will you come back?" Amelia knelt down, her voice breaking. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'll never forget you." Tommy didn't speak, just watched as she walked out of their lives. The car disappeared down the road, leaving only dust and the sound of the wind. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Life returned to its routine. Tommy fixed the roof. Lily chased butterflies. They smiled, they moved forward, but something was missing. A piece of warmth, a laugh at dinner, a second pair of hands in the kitchen. Tommy sometimes sat on the porch in the evenings, staring at the stars, remembering the quiet presence beside him, the woman who had taught him to feel again. Lily asked about Amelia less and less, but on some nights she would whisper to the stars, "Tell her we miss her." Meanwhile, Amelia sat in a high-rise apartment, surrounded by luxury, but haunted by simplicity. Silk sheets felt cold. Servants' voices felt distant. The clinking of champagne at charity galas rang hollow. She smiled for the cameras, walked beside her father at events, and wore the designer gowns again. But her heart was still at the cabin. She missed Lily's laughter, Tommy's silence, the smell of pine, the creak of the old wood floor. She would wake at night dreaming of the moment Tommy reached for her hand under the stars. And then, one day, she made a decision. Without telling a soul, Amelia bought the land where the old cabin stood. She had it restored, carefully, lovingly, exactly as it was, down to the chipped mug Tommy always used and the drawing Lily had made and stuck on the fridge. When it was finished, she left the deed in an envelope on Tommy's porch. No note, just a gift. Quiet gratitude for the man and child who had given her a taste of something real. She didn't expect anything in return. But sometimes, love circles back. The morning fog clung to the mountains like a soft blanket, and the trees whispered with the breeze as Tommy stepped outside. In his hand was the envelope, unmarked, but heavy with memory. Inside, the deed to his old cabin, signed over to him. He stared at the house. It looked just like before, as if time had folded in on itself, as if the woman who had once found refuge within its walls had never left. He walked through each room, silent. Everything was as he remembered. The worn wooden table, the curtains she had sewn by hand, the tiny clay turtle Lily had made with Amelia still perched on the windowsill. A lump rose in his throat. She had come back, not in person, but in presence, in care, in love. He didn't say a word to Lily, not yet. He didn't know what to hope. A week passed, and then one evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, a figure appeared on the road. Amelia. Not in heels, not in a designer coat. She wore a simple sweater, jeans, and mud-speckled boots. Her hair was tied back, and her eyes held something deeper now, not just sorrow or longing, but quiet strength. Tommy stood frozen on the porch.
Lily ran past him, squealing, "Emilia!" Emilia knelt, arms open wide. The little girl dove into her embrace and they clung to each other like time had never passed. When Emilia looked up, her eyes met Tommy's. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. They sat by the fire that night, silence between them at first. "I didn't know if I should come. I thought maybe the gift was enough. But it wasn't." He didn't look at her. "You didn't owe me anything. I didn't come to repay a debt. I came because I couldn't forget this place. You, Lily. The life I had here, even for a moment, was more real than anything I've ever known." He finally met his gaze. "So why leave again? I had to face who I was, where I came from. I had to stop running, and I had to become someone who could choose her life, not just escape it."
She paused. "I don't want to live in two worlds anymore. I've made my choice. If you'll have me." Tommy's hands clenched, then relaxed. He closed his eyes. "I'm not a rich man, Emilia. I can't give you anything close to what you had." "I don't want close," she said. "I want you." But old wounds don't heal overnight. Tommy struggled in the following days. He watched Emilia with Lily, planting herbs, reading stories, cooking with laughter. It was so easy, so warm, and yet he doubted. Could someone like her really give it all up? He kept his distance. Until one morning, Lily tugged at his shirt. "Why don't you hug Emilia anymore?" He knelt to her level, caught off guard. "It's complicated, sweetheart." "No, it's not," she said firmly. "She loves you. You love her. Why are grown-ups so slow?" Tommy chuckled, then stopped, realizing that sometimes the simplest truths came from the smallest voices. That night, as Emilia stood watching the stars, Tommy stepped beside her. "I'm scared," he said. She didn't look at him. "Me too. But maybe that's okay." She turned, eyes glistening. "I don't want perfect. I just want honest." He took her hand, "Then stay. For good." "I was never really gone," she said. A month later, the cabin felt more alive than ever. Emilia sold her shares in her family's company, donated the proceeds to orphanages and rural schools, and bought a small piece of land nearby where she started a community garden project. Tommy, once so reserved, smiled more freely now. He still chopped wood, fixed fences, and didn't talk much, but his eyes said what his words never could. Lily, always the brightest thread, kept them stitched together, her laughter ringing like music through the trees. One evening, the three of them sat together under a blanket under the open sky. The stars shimmered above like silent witnesses. Emilia rested her head on Tommy's shoulder. Lily curled up between them, already half asleep. Tommy looked out across the valley. "This is where it all began." Emilia nodded. "And where it all came back." They sat like that, still, complete. Not as a rich woman and a poor man. Not as strangers, but as family. And in the hush of the mountains, love bloomed again, not in grand declarations or dramatic gestures, but in the quiet choice to stay together forever.
The summer air had cooled into a gentle breeze as twilight crept over the valley. That evening, Amelia stood once more before the wooden cabin she had once called a temporary refuge. It now looked nearly identical, the stone steps restored, the porch light flickering warmly, except for one addition: a small swing hanging from the tree where Lily once played. She stepped up to the door, heart pounding, unsure if she had the courage to knock. But before she could, the door opened. Tommy stood there. The years had etched little change into his quiet face, but his eyes, those same storm-watched eyes, held a depth of unspoken emotion. For a moment, neither said a word. Then Amelia whispered, "I came back. Not to hide this time. I came to stay. If you'll have me." Tommy hesitated. "You don't belong here anymore, Amelia. This life, it's not yours." She stepped forward. "It is if I choose it. And I do. Not because I ran from something, but because I'm running to something. To you. To Lily. To this life that made me feel like me." A small voice interrupted them. "Miss Amelia?" It was Lily, now taller, her smile just as pure. She ran and hugged Amelia tightly. No hesitation, no doubt, only love. And somehow, that simple embrace melted what words could not. Tommy looked at them both, the girl he'd raised and the woman who changed their lives, and something inside him softened. That night, they sat outside under the starlit sky, just like that first evening long ago. No wealth, no titles, no fear. Just three souls, connected by fate, warmed by love. And there, beneath the vast heavens, the story that began in a storm finally found its ending in stillness, where love once bloomed and happiness finally found its home.